Hello out there in the YouTubeverse, it is Max, and I am back with more standard action for you. You. Just you. Not you. No, not you. You. You are the one I came here for, and I have some standard for you. So good news. We have Rakdos Aristocrats. We are back at it again with sacrificing our own stuff for value. So this deck did okay-ish at the most recent Mythic Championship. And it's not a bad one. It's not a great one by any stretch of the imagination, but I still think it's a really solid choice for Arena if you're looking for something a little bit different. There's also been a Jund version of this that has sprung up. I lean towards the group who feel like the good mana and the consistent draws of this deck are what draw us to this over the Jund build. I also have made a lot of changes since the last video, so if you want to watch that, go check it out. But the deck has become a lot more consistent, a lot more 4-ofs in this list, a lot less 2-ofs. So I'm really digging it. The only thing I'm not 100% sold on is Cavalier of Night 2. But we are trying to shore up a late game here. So that's a little interesting. I'll be excited to see how that works out for us. The other thing I haven't got to test with is Rankle yet, which I'm really excited for because it's a cool card. Sacrificing stuff is way up our alley. Drawing cards is decent for us and usually a little bit more advantageous than the opponent. So that's really exciting. The rest of the deck is basically the same assemblage of cards, just again in a more consistent layout, so that hopefully we can win, and it leans a little bit more into the heavier black commitment, which I like a lot, because if you watched the last video, we did get a little color screwed. So that helps a lot. I think the Jund deck's going to run into problems with that, where you're really leaning on Gilded Goose, even more so than a lot of the other Gilded Goose decks already are. But I do like the deck. I do think it's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of deep, complex decisions and a lot of interesting lines the deck can take, like how to use Claim the Firstborn specifically. Mayhem Devil triggering on opponents sacrificing seems to catch opponents. We saw that last time. So it's an overall pretty exciting deck to be playing with. And I think it keeps things interesting, and I don't think it's a dog by any stretch of the imagination. So I do want to play with this a little bit for all of you. We're just going to, again, run through some ranked games, just best of ones. I'm not super interested in the sideboard because I'm still not convinced there's a great main board configuration. That being said, a lot of the lists you'll see have Noxious Grasps in the main, and those are more set up for the best of 3 style. So I removed those and just upped a couple other cards to make sure we are more consistent, but still had our removal, had access to all the pieces we really want. And you can kind of see that here. We have 2 Angress Rampage, we have a Cauldron Familiar, we have a Mayhem Devil, and we have a Cavalier of Night. We're on the play. This hand isn't ridiculously strong. It can take out a lot of things. It can handle the turn 2 Oko, which is important to consider. I'm still in Shameful Bronze right now, about to crest over into Silver. I just don't play a lot of Constructed, so it's, you know, forgive my misgivings, and, like, if you shut off the video because I'm Bronze, you won't hear me apologize, but I apologize. But I'm much more a limited player than I am a constructed player, so I just like to make these videos for you all because they tend to do a little bit better. It seems like everybody's a little bit more interested in constructed. So if you disagree with that, let me know. I'd love to do some limited videos for everybody. We try to mix it up, but it seems like constructed definitely is the more popular choice. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this hand. It's not spectacular. This is a little bit better. It's a little bit more flexible. I think we can just ditch the mountain for now. It doesn't put us that far off. We could ditch the black, but I think the likelihood of us drawing a multi-pip black spell is, well, maybe the Mayhem Devil's more important. So maybe we'll drop a Swamp. So we'll keep our 6, we'll drop a Swamp. We could drop a Witch's Oven if we want, because we really don't need 2. But it's a powerful effect with our single Cauldron Familiar. It lets us do some pretty nasty things. So we will go about things this way, and we'll lead off with a Cauldron Familiar. And we'll see what our opponent, Jesus RG, has to say about it. Perhaps Jesus RG. Who knows? But we're going to find out. Opponent leads on Swamp. And a Knight of the Ebon Legion. Okay. So maybe a mono black style aggro deck. We shall see. We're going to play a Gutter Bones. And then we'll play a Witch's Oven, which gives us the opportunity to block and then sacrifice our Cauldron Familiar to the Witch's Oven and then bring it on back at the end of turn, if we wish. We don't have to. We can't really draw Land and Mayhem Devil simultaneously, so that's a bit of a problem. Okay, they're red-black of some stripe. Night of the Ebon Legion isn't in our build, so they could be a version of ours, but they just were kind of stuck on possibly wild cards, but that's anything's possible, who knows. I don't see the... Yeah, we can go ahead and do this now if we want. There's no harm in it. It gives us the... I mean, the Cauldron Familiar's not going to attack, so it's not... It's kind of indifferent. But that was a good draw. Second Cauldron Familiar, always a welcome sight. We could certainly offer a trade of Gutter Bones for the Knight of the Ebon Legion. Kind of start that party that way if we want to. I don't know as that exactly behooves us. Right now, I think the better option is just simply playing out our second Cauldron Familiar and just passing the turn. We have a pretty significant advantage right now. We could push it because we do kind of want to end the game. Like, we don't want to fart around too much. But I think Gutter Bones for Knight of the Ebon Legion there slows us down enough that that's problematic. Are you a Knight, Gutter Bones? Okay, I was going to say. This looks like... Now looks like Mardu Knights, but they have Gutter Bones. So maybe I was right about the wild card slots. Just kind of... We need some aggro creature to get in there, so... We definitely have to watch out for... that mythic equipment that's red-red. Basically red-red. Okay, so opponent running out some stuff. I mean, they can certainly attack us. We can certainly block. But it's kind of a crapshoot either way, and you can see how powerful this Cauldron Familiar interaction is. It's very good. It's very potent. It does a lot of work to make sure we can keep doing what we need to do. And the double oven lets us mean we can sacrifice things a lot more. It's very powerful. So we're just kind of draining our opponent out. Definitely need some land. There's no question about that. I will address that elephant in the room. But hopefully we'll get there. We're not under severe pressure here. Our opponent's going to draw us out of it to an extent with their Stormfist Crusader, which is pretty cool. The Claim the Firstborn was a great draw. This card's a pretty aces in this deck. I would love to draw like a Priest of the Forgotten Gods or something. This deck's typically this Knights style deck, and I can't speak to their list, but typically are a little lighter on removal. Usually like 4 copies of a piece of removal. This is kind of the big deal deck. So this looks like a lot like the online Mythic Championship build here. So that's pretty cool, but it gets claimed by our card pretty much just the same. So we get to attack them with their own Regisaur. We get to sack it to our Witch's Oven, which is pretty awesome. And the nice thing is that Regisaur hit is pretty significant. They kind of have to respect it because we're going to like, we're kind of ending their life here. Like, we're not screwing around. They're already at 13. So we are definitely doing some damage. So, pretty awesome. Alright, so Mountain seems like a reasonable play here. Let's go ahead and claim this as our firstborn. The first strike on this makes our attack with Gutter Bones a little unpalatable. And I'm not interested in just immediately giving away our advantage here. They can block with Gutter Bones, so it's a little free. But that's, I mean, we're going to hit them. We're going to get 2 resources out of this. Like, it's pretty good. Like, I don't mind that at all. And now we have plenty of food available. If we need to sacrifice a food, we can, just to gain more life. Because, again, this deck can Embercleave. Haha, remember the name of it. Embercleave can... This deck can Embercleave us up pretty good here. Like if they attack with all their creatures. Kind of bad blocks, though. I mean, we just have them covered so easily. Which, even with the second Javier Dominguez here, we kind of have them blocked out. Like, we don't... There's not really much we need to do. And Gutter Bones being able to return when the opponent lost life means that our sacking of Cauldron Familiars, we can get back a Gutter Bones if we want to block with it. So it gives us a lot of resiliency here in this matchup. And I mean, like, it's not like we're completely running the opponent down, but we've handled their big significant threat so far, and we're producing damage every single turn. Yep, we're good. Okay, so normally we want to save these Fabled Passages for as long as we can because of the interaction with Mayhem Devil. But, in this case we get to play Rankle. They have no way to block Rankle. So, I am way more interested in playing Rankle. Rankle is a huge problem for this particular deck, and each of us are going to sacrifice a creature. For sure. We have more than enough food to keep getting back our Cauldron Familiar without impacting our Witch's Oven. And, yeah, that's a big deal. So we've done a lot of damage here with this particular Rankle. And, I mean, the Stormfist is doing damage to them as well. Like, we're each taking damage when this happens, and I'm kind of fine with it. Opponent really has to find an answer to Rankle. They have to try to Embercleave at us. I mean, there's a lot. And the trample from Embercleave is a problem. There's no doubt. Likely here's the Flunge because they're going to want to get us with the Embercleave. But that's kind of fine. Like, I don't mind getting Embercleaved all that bad. We're at 26. I'm just going to go ahead and... do we want to block the Stormfist? I don't necessarily think so. If they want to Embercleave, it's going to cost them a discount of... It costs 6. It's going to cost them 4. So they could not pump Knight of the Ebon Legion. But, okay. They're done with us dirtling. But I think a block there is incorrect. I think we should have just blocked the Knight, seen what they could have done here, and kind of just, you know, if they're going to whap us good, whap us good. We would have sacked our Cauldron Familiar before damage anyway, so not a big deal there. So far so good. One for one out of this. Let's see if we can run down a second game. I know this deck is seen a lot of popularity because it is pretty good against the food decks, and that's kind of the deck we're looking to prey upon, right? Is we're looking to steal things, we're looking to sack things. Our opponent goes first, but our hand is kind of bad. Witch's Oven is good, especially with Acclaim the Firstborn, can get us through, but we're not casting anything until this Mayhem Devil of substance. I just don't think we can sit that long. This hand's kind of the opposite problem. I think I'm going to keep 6. I think I'm going to get rid of the Cavalier of Night. I think that's correct. This hand also missing pieces. Obviously the big piece being the Witch's Oven. So we'll see what we're up against. Looks like another black-red deck here. So we have some options. We just have to see what we do. Dreadhorde Butchers is very similar to what we're on style deck. So we can Rampage them. They're going to get a damage out of it. That's kind of fine. We can't really do much now to punish them with Claim the Firstborn. We'd like to live long enough to do something, so I think we just Rage them. And we just kind of live with it. I don't think it's a super powerful move, but I do think it gets a problematic permanent off the board. So them shooting the Cauldron Familiar could mean that they want to get that off the board before we get the Oven, or that they have another Butcher, which it doesn't appear that they do, which is actually really good news for us. I think Blood Crypt here tapped is fine. We have nothing to play that we want to play, so we'll just hold. I don't mind getting hit by a Gutterbones here. We'll see. It's really, if they're follow up something like a Mayhem Devil or something like that, we really have to be concerned. Yep, and that's the concern. Okay. So we can Rankle, but we can't have each player sacrifice a creature. We can't Rankle yet. We can Rankle, have each player sacrifice a creature next turn if we steal the Mayhem Devil. So, because we can do that, we have to be careful because the Fabled Passage with the Mayhem Devil is problematic. So, that's an issue there as well. It's a tough call. It's really, I don't quite... Yeah, this is why this deck's interesting, is because it is deep. It's got a lot of lines to it. Each player discarding a card is not great. Each player loses a life and draws a card is not great. I mean, they can easily... Can't claim it. So they can Angrass Rampage us. So I think I'm just going to commit the Gutterbones to the table and just hold tight from there, because I don't think we have a better play than that. Next turn, I'd like to Rankle plus Fabled Passage, if I can. So they're using the older style deck I was using with the Chandra. So the Chandra here is very good because they're going to whap us for a ton of damage. Then they're going to sacrifice both of their elementals as per Chandra. So the opponent gets to throw around some damage wherever they'd like. Actually, a little surprised they're going after Gutter Bones, but that's kind of fine. So let's read Rankle. Deals combat damage to a player. So it has to deal damage to a player. So we're going to do this. We're going to unfortunately sacrifice this, which is, you know, kind of the cost of doing business. But that's okay. And we'll grab us a swamp, and we'll claim this as the firstborn. We will play Rankle. And we will go Mayhem Devil and Rankle. And we will attack. And we will each sacrifice a creature. I will sacrifice this Mayhem Devil. And we will finish shooting down Chandra. And apparently the player, because we got both those triggers. Cool.
Consider this bridge burned.
And that's our best play there. Hopefully that gives us something, but opponent's got a lot of cards in hand, so they can definitely do some stuff. Spawn of Mayhem. Okay. We have a bunch of Mayhem Devils here. So there's not much we can really do running into the Spawn of Mayhem. We can play our Devil, really itching for a Witch's Oven to kind of pad our life total. So we'll see what opponent does. I mean, I imagine they're going to lead on the Spawn attack here. Interesting choice with the Spawn. It does get games done, so you can see they're a lot more into the aggro bent of the deck than we are. We're trying to kind of set up a board state that can win us the game through inevitability, where they're definitely trying more to end a game quickly and just kind of use some synergies here to end a game. Cavalier of Night's a decent one. Oh boy. So we can take down a Spawn of Mayhem. Then it pings us for 1 and they attack. So we can't sacrifice Rankle to do that. So I think, unfortunately, we have to sacrifice our Mayhem Devil to do this. So we'll shoot the opponent, aim for a creature. I think we attack and sacrifice a creature. So we'll sacrifice Rankle and they'll lose their Spawn. This leaves us with a 4/5 lifelinker on the board, which should be good enough. Okay. Yeah, that should be good enough. I'm going to play the Mayhem Devils first. Then we'll go to combat. We will attack, because we need the lifelink. And then we will play a Priest of the Forgotten Gods and see if that is good enough. Hopefully there's something to it. But you can see kind of the opponent had us pretty good and we were able to wiggle out of that one. So you can kind of see the resiliency of the deck, which is what really intrigues me about it. That, and I just really like Aristocrat style decks. They're really cool and interesting in my opinion. One of my favorite Commander decks is a Shattergang Brothers deck I have that is basically an Aristocrats deck. So this style of play is really interesting to me. Okay, Cauldron Familiar was actually kind of aces. So we can Cauldron Familiar, and if it triggers, we can then get back Gutter Bones. We can play Gutter Bones. I think we attack with the Cavalier here. If they want to double block, they can. So let's see what they're doing here. Shock. Yeah, absolutely. So we will get back Mayhem Devil. We'll do this. We're going to target this player. Submit 1. Sacrifice Gutter Bones and Cauldron Familiar, which is going to be double triggers on the Mayhem Devils. and then the Priest of the Forgotten Gods is going to lose in the game. So managed to wiggle free of that one. We looked like we were going to lose there when Double Spawn of Mayhem was on the other side, but we got lucky. Opponent had a couple, looks like maybe a couple expensive cards or duds or something in their hand that couldn't quite work out. But as you can see, the resiliency there and the consistency the deck's taken on has made it a whole lot more interesting than the version I was playing initially, which kind of had two of the here, two of the here, two. You couldn't really count on anything, even though it was playing, you know, the Spectacle one that draws cards that's red that everybody really digs. That card's very good, but it wasn't enough to kind of tie the room together. So I think this version's a little bit better. And again, we're on another mulligan. This is our third straight mulligan. And again, I think we're going to keep it. I think we drop a Mayhem Devil from this hand to give us Cauldron Familiar into Angrass Rampage into Mayhem Devil. I don't love binning the Mayhem Devils because it's kind of the best card in the deck. But I do think that we need that. We need to bin that and have enough mana to cast our spells. Every mana we draw from here feels awful. But I do think that we kind of need to... It's kind of the price you pay when you mulligan. And we'll see what we can do. I mean, if we have to put in a Blood Crypt untapped, we will, so we can Angrass Rampage. Okay, this is going to be a tough matchup here. So, let's go to combat. This is likely Adventure, would be my guess. Selesnya Adventure. This is a tough matchup for us, because they generate a lot of tokens, and they draw a lot of cards if they get their Edgewall Keeper. Unless I'm mistaken, which is entirely possible. Now the question is, how do we want to proceed? Do we want to let them go unfettered into what is going to be 5 mana on the next turn? Or Angrass Rampage to hold back mana production? Or sorry, into 4 mana. Yeah, I guess. I think developing our board's better. They can't Realm Cloak Giant here. So I think Realm Cloak Giant goes off on 5 if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think they're quite there yet. Oh boy, this is a spicy one here. Whatley. So the Leafkin Druid can attack us for 3. That's fine. So this is just creature you control. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and have them sacrifice a Planeswalker. And we'll mug them with the damage. And we will go to combat. We will attack with Mayhem Devil. They will not block. And we will play a Blood Crypt tapped. And we'll pass the turn. So if we draw a land, it's pretty decent because we can get the Cavalier of Night online. If we draw a spell, unless it's another Cavalier of Night, we can most likely cast it. So we're in pretty good shape here. So they have a Nissa who shakes the world. We are going to steal their land, and we're going to attack Nissa to death. Because I ain't fooling with that. Nissa is definitely a Planeswalker I am not playing around with. It is a very good card. And if they do have another one, so be it, but we just can't really afford to risk it. I wish I could had a Witch's Oven to sacrifice the forest to, like we did before. I don't, but, you know, is what it is. Oh yeah, I guess I could have used the forest for a mana. Should have thought about that with Cavalier of Night. Alright, you know, go nuts on the comment thing. I forgot it was a land. It happens. So we... No, I only have 4 mana. Because I have the tapped land from the claim that... See? Next leveled myself there with that one. Good. Not as big of a mistake. So they're Fabled Passaging, but taking a while to do so. Does that mean they have a third color, or they're choked on? Okay, there's a third color. The full Bant has emerged. So this is Bant Ramp. And here's another Nissa. That's going to be problematic. I'm trying to think what our line is here. Land gets us Cavalier. That lets us blow up a land. They have double Forest here. There could be a second spell. I'm not 100% sure. If they give us the opportunity to trade Midnight Reaper for land, I will take that trade. because I do feel like the key here is to get lands out of the way. So if they go attack, I will 100% block with my Midnight Reaper. That gives me a card, and it trades. So I turn Midnight Reaper into destroy target creature, draw a card, lose a life. I will take that all day long. Okay, Swamp was a good draw. Yep, I do think we have to... Whoa. Auto pay. What did I hit? Cancel somehow? So we're going to sacrifice the Cauldron Familiar. We're going to shoot Nissa. We're going to target this forest.
How rude.
I'm not super worried about the ultimate, so I'm just going to keep pressure on the opponent. I'm not super worried there. I think we're going to have enough sack outlets to be able to kind of keep Nissa under control. Her just simply existing on the board is just as dangerous. The ultimate's fine, but it's not like I'm super worried about the ultimate. I don't want them to ultimate if I can help it, but I don't care so much.
Harness the elements.
So we'll see what they can do here. They have access to a lot of mana. That's more... I don't think Bant Ramp plays the card that makes a buttload of lifelinking tokens. They play Fey Wishes, which is pretty cool. So they get to tutor on their sideboard for a non-creature card. So we'll see. That could be the card that makes a buttload of tokens. And that card is quite good against us. I'm trying to remember the name. Call the Conclave? No. Maybe? Maybe? It's a mythic. But that could be really good against us. From there, kind of everything else is a little generic. They can't cast the Fae here after they've done the boarding. They have access to 4 mana. Whenever a forest is, you add an additional green. So they could go white, white, green, green. And they could cast something. I don't know what that is. And clearly opponent doesn't either because they're taking a while to dig through their board here. So there's no obviously insane card. Alright, so they're high alerting. Creatures control. Okay. Yeah, sure. Got it. Okay. Next to combat. We're just going to crash in with our Cavalier of Night. Blocks are pretty bad for opponent with just Temple Guard now. They were willing to take the damage. We're going to play a Cauldron Familiar. We're going to play a Priest of the Forgotten Gods, and if they can't deal with this Priest of the Forgotten Gods, they lose on the spot. So if we get to our untap step, we win the game. Because the Priest on its own does it. Well, Priest on its own, Priest plus 2 other creatures. So they need a removal spell here, like a mass removal spell. We'll see if they can cobble one together with 19 life to play with. So I'm interested to see what the opponent has to do. They have to gain some life. They have to take care of this Priest of the Forgotten God. Something like that. Clear our board. Something along those lines needs to happen. Okay, there we go. We got it. All right, 3-0. Not bad, not bad. So that's kind of the deck. That's kind of what we're aiming to do. As you can see, I think the deck is definitely more consistent now than it was. I actually like it quite a bit better than I did in the last configuration. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Of course, here's all the YouTube business. But seriously, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Thanks for checking this out. We really do appreciate you coming by. There's a ton of Magic content you can ingest on the internet, so we appreciate you coming here to do it. If you want to hang out and you're with us again, let us know what you want to see below, and we can definitely make that happen. Anything on Arena is cool. We don't really Magic Online much, but we can be talking to Pauper. Seriously, we love Pauper around here. Pop-up video coming back here soon for a 2nd season, so get excited for that. There's been a ton of changes and then unchanges and rechanges to Pauper with the banning of Astrolabe after the unification, and then Modern Horizons changing everything. So it's been a crazy format to be in, much more so than it was for the past many years before it. So that's really cool, and that's all here. There's a video So every Thursday, we stream every Sunday on Twitch. We also do a live stream of something in paper, physically, the second Saturday of every month on Twitch. We try to do as much as we can extra. So if there's something you want to see, let us know. If you want to stick around for the next one, feel free to hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate it very much. If not, it's cool. Just check back every once in a while. We'll be happy to see you. And until next time, cast more spells.